Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tardis Zone. This is the Tardis Zone Talks. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. And I've sent out all the emails and links and stuff for people that are coming on. So, we're here, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat for about an hour. We're not going to stay on too long, all right? Just have a bit of a chill one, yourself. But one of our guests has, broke some good news on social media. So we have some congratulations to be thrown out there now in a few minutes. But let's start off. I suppose the rest of the panelists will get here pretty soon, I'm sure. So we'll bring on the guys that we have waiting. Of course, we will start off with our regular. And he's got some good news as well. It's the one and only Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Just back off his little holiday. Yeah, refreshed and officially off the market.
Yes, that's right. I'm now engaged. I popped the question. Been planning it for a long time, good few months. Thought the best place to do it on holiday. Probably if I've got a tan, probably not really. Got a haircut though. That. But
you're looking well. You're looking good.
So a little bit has been a few things.
Yeah, there is a bit of a delay. Obviously, there's something got when me and Cinnamon always talk. There's always a bit of a delay going on there, but go on, finish what you're saying. I'll bring the other two lads on because we still have two more guests coming on.
Oh, I thought I was finished. That's why I was waiting for you. I didn't know there was a delay. But,
there you go. Well, I'm all over the place then. All right, let's bring on our next regular host. It's the one and only Mr. PD Rich.
Hey, I had to shoot 111 sound cues. God, it almost killed me.
There you go, PD. Mr. Doom and Gloom as usual when he comes on.
You know me. I'm one of these people, literally, I've met people with BAFTA awards. They're exactly the same as me. They keep criticising their own work.
Love it. Anyway, yeah, congratulations to Cinnamon, everybody in the chat there. Congratulating you. And of course, I have sent out, obviously, obviously a link to someone else as well, but we do have someone that we haven't had on the channel in a while. You all know him. It's the one and only Problem Being.
Hey, buddy.
Hello. Yay. Congratulations, Cinnamon. Woo!
Well, it's nice to see you back. I've missed you, honestly.
Oh, we've all missed you. Oh,
love is in the air.
We love you, really. Probably, we love you, really.
Tolerated.
Yes, tolerated indeed.
We did a lot more than some, I can tell you that.
So I suppose we should so we found out Cinnamon Owl has he's gotten engaged to be married. PD has been working away hard doing his theatre work. Lee, we haven't seen you in a while. Do you want to fill us in what you've been getting up to, pal? How's everything with you? And how are you doing, mate? How are you doing?
Contrary to some belief, I haven't really been online ever since I was excommunicated from Twitter for daring to have an opinion. I've sort of been more engaged in trying to do more CGI kind of stuff. So I'm working on a trailer at the moment. It's taking up all my time. collecting stuff. I've been going mad with Doctor Who action figures and custom stuff and painting things up and doing a bit of home redecorating and lolling about when I can't be asked to do anything else. That's about it, really.
Fantastic, Mr. and Mrs. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Yeah, that's going to be weird, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, fuck's sake. Yeah, man. So you're still keeping up with your trailers. That's nice to hear, I have to say. But there's nothing really new to talk about Doctor Who, so we're just going to have a random chat this week, if you don't mind. I think it's been a bit of a rough couple of weeks for everybody anyway, so I just thought we'd come on and just shoot the breeze anyway. You know, we could talk about anything you want, except I'm going to make it clear now, right? No politics, right, or any bullshit, right? Let's just keep away from that today. I deal with enough fucking politics. I've got politics coming out of my asshole right now at the moment, right? So I just need a break away from it, just to talk about something different. But Salem's Lot, right? I've seen there's the Hollywood in their wisdom, because you know they've been losing money for the past few decades because of their diversity and inclusion and the fact that they've got shit writers writing all their programs. They're remaking and rebooting a lot of old franchises. Salem's Lot. They're doing a sequel to the Goonies now. It's actually confirmed. There's a sequel to the Goonies coming.
A couple of them are dead, aren't they?
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop, as you know, recently got its another movie, Axel F. Beverly Hills Cop didn't go down too well either. But this is not. The in my opinion, this isn't the solution to Hollywood's problems. Lee, the problem with Hollywood is the fact that they're hiring the wrong people, and the fact that the industry is so focused on demographics rather than making good content. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, but I think from what I've been hearing, they've been also sacking those people slowly over a period of time now.
Marvel,
yeah, I think it's sinking in that these people are nothing but grifters, and I think really it stemmed from a lot of this DEI stuff, especially stemmed from the sort of strong arm tactics of the activist class. Yeah. Who would go into these places and threaten companies that if you didn't hire X amount of this, that, the other, or do diversity training or instill a diversity manager, that they would expose them to Twitter and then have their company destroyed. And it was a protection racket. The whole thing started as a protection racket.
Didn't we see something
Yeah, it's undeniable. You know, and I know this from certain people that I've spoken to who know for a fact that people will go in offering their services for, you know, something like 18 to 40 grand or whatever. And if they said no, then they were like, okay, well, good luck on Twitter. And that was when Twitter obviously was skewed very heavily in their favor back in that time, but that's sort of removed somewhat now, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
I
was thinking about this recently with the writers of Doctor Who, and I was thinking, why was classic Doctor Who so good compared to the rubbish we're getting today? And I sat there thinking, well, hold on. You had a generation of writers in the 60s and 70s who've been through a world war. And I think that level of discipline, because you know, when you join the army, you know, you put through the training, and all that. And I think that discipline and that level of experience, real life experience, like the most horrendous kind of experience you can imagine, informed them, you know. And they also, not only with that, but they would also know at least some elements of science.
That's it.
Or they'd go down the pub and they'd drink with their science mates and they'd learn all about all the latest things that were going on in physics or whatever. And I just don't think that that's happening anymore. I don't see any scientific advisor on the staff of BBC for Doctor Who, for example.
There used to be one. Kit Pedler used to be it.
Yeah, and that's gone. And that's why we're getting all this fantasy shite now, because they are not focusing on believability within that world, within that universe. You know, it based
do they even still have a continuity advisor?
Yeah, all that's gone. And you have a generation, I'm not attacking any particular generation, but certainly since my generation onwards, I think it's become more and more evident that we lack that discipline.
Yeah.
I think we all live, even at the poorest end, sort of more cozier lives than any time in history. And that's not to say that people don't have real struggles. Of course they do. But what I'm saying is in the terms of the 20th and 21st century, the late 20th century, the early 21st century, where we're at now, we have so much available to us so readily and freely. We take it for granted. And I just don't think the discipline or the life experience or the depth or the intellect, and certainly think the educational system plays its part. I think once they got rid of grammar schools, I think that certainly stopped a certain type of education coming through that would lead to people going to university who deserve to be at university. And I think the universities are also run by people who don't care about education. They're there.
They care about money.
They want the money.
That's it.
And I think that's a systemic issue, a problem that has been ongoing, particularly in all fields, really. Particularly in media and film, television. And I think that has culminated to the point where you've got people who are mediocre at best. And because they have such egos and they don't like being shown up, they hire people who are less talented than even they are because they don't want to be shown up. And I think this has been going on for some time, over a number of years, that it's got to the saturation point of idiocy. That's where we're at, and I think that's why we're seeing such a decline in quality, because mediocrity has won.
Yeah, but as you said yourself, there does seem to be a change within some companies.
Too late.
Yeah,
at least in terms of anything changing with immediate effect. I think it's going to take another 5 to 10 years before we see anything like that. And
well, I agree with you on that one, because if you look at the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, right, it's not the greatest writing in the world, but what it does is it entertains. It does something that movies haven't done in a long time, and that's why a lot of people gravitated towards that movie. But if you actually analyze that movie, Ted, could you stop? She just took the Hoover out of the room, mate. Anyway, but if you actually analyze that movie, sorry about him. If you actually analyze that movie, though, the writing in it is not the greatest. The plot is so thin, like, do you know what I mean? But it entertained, and the actors and the actresses that were on screen wanted to entertain you, and there was no message. So, you know, that's why people gravitated towards that movie. But I do agree with you, it's slowly happening. It is too late. But the quality is not, even though they're sacking these people, the quality is still not great. That's my point.
I'll say, just to kind of underline that it's like in any other industry, when you lose generations, it's like basket weaving or something, or lace making or whatever. It's a specialized skill. Yeah, it's a specialized skill. When you remove generation after generation of people who are doing those jobs, you lose those skills. You lose the people who teach you those skills. And as we've seen, like, more and more of these, wonderful writers and producers of Doctor Who have passed away, that skill set has gone.
True.
And
very true.
When you have that massive gap in between those people and the current people, and you've got that chasm between the two, there's a deficit in training, within skill sets that passed with those people. And I think that it's very hard to then come back and make it as good as it used to be, because I just don't think that that's possible. You might find new skill sets and new ways of doing things, or people rediscovering how things were done. But I just think that that particular time is over. You know, the golden age, the silver age. I think we're now in the tin pot age, or the plastic rubber age. I don't know. But I just think that once you lose that kind of skill set, that pool of experience, you can't fabricate that. You know, that's something that's deeply missed, because it's just been gone for so long, and the people who had those skills and those abilities are no longer with us. You know, and I think it's only through maybe, you know, back engineering in the future that people might rediscover some of these abilities. Or, you know, I think we really need to start getting back into people who are grounded, who have their feet firmly on the ground, aren't so hepped up on ideological beliefs, or, you know, fixating their, you know, on their navel or their genitalia or whatever it is that fixates them these days, but actually focusing on their intellect, focusing on their experience, and getting experience, doing something in the real world first, and understanding science, understanding physics, understanding the reality, you know, understanding the topics that they're supposed to be talking about, and actually showing an interest in the thing. I mean, we see, like, with Marvel and all these other franchises are run by people who either don't know anything about them, which is fine to a point, but you have to educate yourself on these things, or they just deliberately undermine them. They don't like them, they actively hate them, and they want to remake them in their own image.
That's it.
And I think that when you do that, you're not bringing it to a new audience, because the new audience are that fickle, they don't care.
Yeah.
But the people who do care about it are left in the breeze.
Yeah.
And there's
absolutely
nothing there for anybody. And that's why the people who support these things on paper only support it on paper, i.e. on Twitter or whatever. But they don't go and see it. They don't financially. That's why, you know, The Acolyte was a failure, because they didn't go and watch it.
God.
They will talk about it on Twitter and, you know, Yas Queen and all this, click fingers and all that kind of stuff. But they don't
never watched it.
Pay for it. No,
and that's the reason why it was cancelled, The Acolyte. It had nothing to do with hate. I mean, the actress has recently come out and saying that Disney should have done more to protect the cast. I'm sorry, but if you're going around slagging your audience off before the show even comes out, what do you expect the audience to do? They're not just going to take it.
Death threats. Like, darling, I don't know. I lost count of how many death threats I had on Twitter. Everyone on Twitter gets death threats. You know, it's not new, right? It's not.
It's wrong, but at the end of the day, if you're instigating it, which a lot of these actors and actresses do when they come out with their bullshit, and then they expect fans just to take it. Fans are going to retaliate. I'm sorry, but they are going to retaliate.
And even then, it's a default response. I mean, whether they have received them or not, I wouldn't know. But it seems like slightest bit of criticism. I see it as a gamer. I see it in the video game industry. Slightest bit of criticism. Well, we've been getting death threats.
They can't handle it. They just can't. They need. There's no thick skin. You know. I think you need to, if you're going to be a public figure as an actor or whatever. Actors are famous for having thin skins anyway. But don't read your critics. Don't read the reviews. If you don't want to feel upset, don't engage with it.
Well,
no, they actually seek to be upset, and so they can pinpoint. Oh, look, I'm being oppressed. I'm being subjected to violence and aggression, and it's like no, you're being subjected to real life. You know,
I know there's several actors out there that have never actually read a review of their movies because, you know, they even say it themselves, like, you know, they know that they're not going to be able to please anybody. So why should they, you know, focus on the negative rather than they just focus on the positive, the people that this piece of art or work means something to. And that's what a lot of these creators today forget. When you start going back to where franchises that we grew up with, all we're asking you to do is respect the source material and respect the show that you're actually working on. But when you come out against the fans and you keep criticizing them because they don't like something and you're deliberately agitating them, I'm sorry, but I agree with Lee. Listen, I've gotten hundreds of death threats. So has Lee. We've all gotten them in this fandom, talking about Doctor Who over a fucking TV show. Imagine that, though. But that's what happens. But we get on with it. We get on with it. At the end of the day, Lee is right. A lot of these actors and actresses don't have thick skins. They cannot take criticism.
That's it. They're shallow.
But there's a factory producing, I mean, factory.
Weak.
That's a synonym for universities, colleges they call them in America. But they producing people without critical thinking, critical skills. But certainly there's a class of activists that is born from it. Nicholas Horton asked me, what do I think of Agatha all along? I don't think about it at all.
I haven't even looked at it.
There's no brain cells to be given. On that, it's good because I did see, I think Rabbi put it on like months ago, but it was a video, and I don't know if he was Jewish or something to do with Jewish, but it was like a certain video, and it was a bloke who was like maybe some sort of teacher or a professor, and for the purpose of the discussion, I think he filmed it, and he was talking to a student. Or something. I can't remember. It was about a certain individual. I can't remember who the individual was. But the student was like, "Well, I don't like him because it was about J.K. Rowling actually. I remember." And she was like, "Yeah, but she's transphobic and she doesn't like this." And it was, but he'd okay, so that's what you think. But why do you think that? What was actually break it down? Don't just say the sound bite. Don't just say the headline of blah 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 blah. Actually break it down and tell me what actually was said. And then, like, he couldn't do it. And then, like, when he tried, it was like, yeah, but how do you know that, though? But was it actually, though? Yeah, exactly. It's like you try and get something, you try to muster up some sort of sentence. And then you couldn't, because when you actually think about it and critically break it down, it just falls apart. And by the end of it, the kid came around and was like, oh, actually, yeah, you've actually got a point.
That's the thing. If you dig, I mean, you don't even have to dig deep.
No.
Right? To undermine all of this nonsense. It's so surface level. No thought goes beyond headlines. That's why Screen Rant and things like that are so successful, because they rely solely on that clickbait or that rage bait or whatever. And people just read a headline, and this is nothing new. This has been going on for decades. But people read the headline and think they're savvy to the world. It's so manipulative, and every time the media are the ones responsible. The media are the enemy of the people. That's so true. It's more true now than probably ever before. And we've been through world wars with propaganda, but I've never seen propaganda on a scale like today. And people
it's been for a long time as well.
I read a headline.
I'm a big quite a history fan on the Titanic, and even back then there was smears campaigns on Bruce Ismay, and like all sorts of gossip that the press were rushing to print out stories that weren't even true, and this is going back as far as 1912.
Well, the British tabloids have historically probably been the most savage in history, and probably even more savage before laws were brought in to kind of suppress that a little bit. But I mean I think it was the News of the World sort of scandals, wasn't it, that kind of broke that monopoly. But that doesn't seem to stop them just making up complete nonsense, provable nonsense, and going along with like a cabal, really, isn't it? They all seem to be in lockstep with each other with what the reality is, and it's so clearly not true. But people still believe it because they want to, because the people who talk about hate and oppression and stuff, they are the most oppressive and hateful people, but they use that as an excuse for their behavior. They can demonize everyone else. It's such a weird world we live in, where, and I don't want to get into the politics of it, but it certainly does seem to inform them on their way of looking at things in every single aspect of their life, and that includes TV shows, film. I mean, it's like life and death for these people. Like, you must love it, otherwise you're politically this. They've managed to success. You can't separate the politics anymore, because they forced it down our throats so long.
That's it.
That everything about film and TV shows, you can't just take it as a TV show or a film. It has to be about the political aspect. It has to be about the social.
Yeah.
I am so bored and sick to my back teeth of hearing about it. I just want to watch a piece of entertainment and go, do you know what? That was good fun. You know, I've been watching a lot of old stuff lately.
Don't blame you.
Bloody excited about the Blake 7 Blu-ray.
See, that's that's the issue, though. A lot of these TV shows and movies, these characters that these diversity writers are bringing on, inclusion writers are bringing on. See, these people on the left suffer from low self-esteem. They actually hate themselves as human beings. So they need, as Lee said, it is literally life and death for them, because they want to feel a part of society, a valued part of society, and the only way that they believe that they can get that is by through all of this medium, and then all of the activism that they do, as Lee, and we don't want to get into politics, but Lee is right, the whole lot is intertwined. You know, the left really are. The bottom line is that most of them need,
and lots of people get caught up in the tidal wave, so to speak. I mean, again, you look at people like Tennant and all the other ones who will post, aid for Gaza or some sort of pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine message or something to that effect on their Instagram story, and like, oh, there we go, I've posted my little bit of support, because they'll get peer pressured and bullied into.
Yeah, but they don't give a shit. I don't want to get into politics, but they don't give a shit. And I saw a perfect example of that at a recent protest that I was at, right? This is the same left in this country that claims to support LGBTQ+, right? And two guys came to their counter protest. We were at the customs house. They were on the opposite side. And they came with their pride flag. And there was literally a conversation had, and they were told to fuck off with their pride flag. Now, this is the tolerant left, by the way, right? This is the tolerant left. Everything that they do, everything that they accuse us of, right? Being Nazis, all of the other fucking white supremacy, all of that. It's just all projection, right? They hate themselves. They literally hate themselves. I don't want to get into politics on this channel, right? But they literally hate themselves, and we have to suffer because they hate themselves, and because as a society, or the adults around them, or whoever was around them, failed them. Instead of getting them real help, they fucking supported their delusions, right? They encouraged it, and that's why the world. Listen, the left. Look at the world today, right? This is the perfect utopian world for the left. Do you know why? As long as it's in the shitter, right, they'll be able to keep complaining and moaning and bitching about, look at me, and that's what they want.
All radicals want.
Sorry for the rant.
All radicals want a revolution, and the only way you get a revolution is by making sure everything is, as you say, turned to shit.
Yeah.
They are in the business of keeping everything going to make it worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So that they can have their little utopia revolution. It's like the Q, okay, the Q in the alphabet thing. Even as far back as in the 70s and 80s, they were opposed to gay marriage because they thought that was too heteronormative. And that it would destroy any chances for a Q revolution. So this has been going on for years. They opposed gay marriage. Let that sink in. So it's the radicals who always cause the problems. And unfortunately, the reaction to that is as expected. You get people on the right now who are just as fucking insufferable, in my opinion, when it comes to the overreach and the overreaction. But I blame it squarely on the radicals on the left, because they're the ones who instigated this. And it's us poor buggers in the middle who are going, oh, Christ, we've got to try and balance,
Is that the woke rightly? They keep going on about now.
I guess,
That's all right, yeah.
The irony, it's you see the behavior on both sides being almost as bad as each other
I
It's like a
know.
game of perpetual tennis, isn't it? You know, the
It's
ball gets
boring.
smacked from
I'm
one
so
side to
bored.
the end, and then
Yeah.
you know the referee that's in the middle, or I guess if he is in the middle, I don't really know tennis, but I'm using it for the sake of the analogy. But you know, the person that's in the middle, it suffers from both sides because
Most people just want
we're
to be
involved
left
in a
alone.
war.
Most
We're
people just
involved in a
want to be
war we
left
never asked
alone.
for. So then we're getting into this sort of again political football, bounce back and forth, again around our favourite IPs. And then, you know, we're getting into discussions with people on bloody Twitter about how the doctor's now autistic and now has got
Is the
brain rot
Doctor a
or
virgin? That's a new one that I've seen recently.
something like this. Again, it won't just be an outside discussion. It gets brought into the show and it gets, there's a label for that now. And now that's the label's thrown at
But
this
it-
person. And
it's
the
the
show's
people in
always been this
charge.
and the show's always been that. Whereas, again, saying something like, Doctor Who's always been woke. Well, that's funny because that conversation wasn't being had
No.
30 years ago. That's a very recent conversation. You know, just for the purpose of the argument, you know, the Doctor's
It's the
this. Well, that's funny.
gaslighting,
That's a
isn't it?
new thing you've come up
That's
with.
it.
It isn't like an old thing that's been around for time immemorial. It's
Yeah.
always it's funny that all these new topics or these new sound bites are all this new. They've not been there for a long time. Although we're told they are. We're told, you know, that certain
Well, there was
people
no
have been.
diversity and inclusion before, like 2016. You know, even though Doctor Who's always had that, you know, very liberal mindset. That's the thing. They think they're liberal, but they are illiberal. They are the new conservatives in a way because they are so puritanical and authoritarian.
Yep.
And it's they don't see the irony of it. I mean,
I know this left field's right, mate.
it's not woke at all. You know, Doctor Who has never been woke until recently. It had social issues, it had environmental issues in there, but the politics was always
part of the story, though.
sort of a minimum.
Well, this leads me on to the thing
interesting
because
way.
I saw again on the vast wasteland of Twitter. I won't say who it was. Not that it really matters anyway. But the individual did a thread of a summary of Robert Holmes and Malcolm Hulk and sort of contrasted them. And you know, and it was sort of basically his point was, well, you had sort of I'm paraphrasing here, but you know, the communist, or Malcolm was a communist, and then you know, perhaps Robert Holmes is more conservative. And his point was, although Robert Holmes was a conservative, his writing on the show was actually the opposite, and
Well,
it was something
he
like,
was a small C conservative, and Malcolm Holt was pretty much a card-carrying Marxist. But I would say, in those takes, they would work and be best friends. Okay, they would get on and work
and that was the bloke's point, and it was like he seemed to sort of say this like as if it was shocking, and he put it in the tweet, and he mentioned this like, oh, that's quite funny. He's this, and when you actually look at his work, he's actually the opposite. And it was something like with the Sunmakers, and I sort of I didn't reply because I didn't massively disagree with it. I just thought, well, yeah, because that's called being a grown up. You could have a certain opinion and write. You know, when it comes to writing a piece of fiction, write the opposite. It was something to do with, and then I think it got into the reply because obviously you could say, the taxing of system of the Sunmakers, that you could say that was anti-government and you know, or whatever it was. It was something to that effect. But it was an interesting tweet, and it's like it puzzled him, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Well, is it? I mean, I would have thought you could be a Tory and write something very liberal if it fit the story, or you know, anything. It was,
the
again, I'm not
socialists are pro-tax. You know, they are, whether they think they know it or not. You know, the thing is, the left increases taxes generally, and when you see the conservatives, it's because they're behaving more like the socialists. So when you see stories about the tax man and stuff, that's what happens when you have a Labour government, which was in power at the time.
Oh yeah, know all about that one.
Yeah,
it was an interesting tweet. If I'd have to find it again to really explain it properly, so we could actually all understand it. But it was something to that effect. It was sort of discussing and contrasting the different writers and how, you know, in a room. Well, actually, I think he seemed to think that Robert Holmes and Malcolm Holt wouldn't get on outside of work. But
that's because
but
people like that are so narrow-minded. They
yeah.
see this is the thing that this is
Yeah,
the problem. with the
essentially,
left
his
as
point was
well.
their work
They
on
have
Doctor
to,
Who was quite similar, but outside of Doctor Who, they were quite different. I think is what he was
yeah,
sort of getting at.
but with the left is if you don't subscribe to their ideology, you don't subscribe to their way. They're very narrow-minded. They think that
Well, they
people on the left,
dehumanize
people
you.
on the right can't get on. But that's actually that's far from the truth. Like you know, you can with some people on the left reach some common ground. Do you know what I mean?
And
But
then
we
you
see
compare that to
radical-
now. Again, you compare that to then, when you would have different peoples of different backgrounds and different opinions, and they could write similar stuff. When you compare that to now, everybody's the same. Nobody's different. I mean, is Russell going to invite? I mean, I don't know what's his name. Well, anyone really, anyone sort of slightly, centre right. Is Russell going to dare to step out of that bubble? His own
That's
little
the only
secure bubble.
diversity they're not on board with. Diversity
Yeah.
of opinion. Yeah.
Thought,
absolutely.
yeah.
It's political bigotry, so much for us not talking about politics. But I think you can't now, and this is what they wanted to do, was to make it so that politics and culture were absolutely intertwined with each other. Whereas
Yeah, go on.
Before, culture was politics was always downstream from culture. Culture was supposed to be the pinnacle of our creation, and now it's down in the mud with the politics. It's sad to see, but it's all done on purpose. All of this is a deliberate
Propaganda
distortion of the radicals who have slowly marched through all the institutions and subverted our culture by people who actively hate our culture, who even say that our culture doesn't even really exist. That's the problem. That's what you're up against. And you've got useful idiots who are very young and impressionable and gullible and subject to peer pressure who just go along with it. And it's sad. It's sad.
Sheeple, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Sadly.
I know.
Sorry, Cinnamon, I cut across you. Carry on.
It's just, like I said, it's essentially what I said earlier, really. Again, with the political football, it's hard to try not to talk about the politics, but it's hard because, again, it was festered on us. I don't really want to sit here and talk about it, to be honest. Again, I find it boring now. It's the same tired conversations over and over again, but yet we keep having them because we keep being made to have them.
Yeah,
well, in theory, again, we could have not talked about it. I suppose no one's forcing a gun to our heads, but it's the state of where we're at. Again, and we compare that to now. How many of Shooty Gatwa's writers are of different opinion? They're probably all in the same bubble. They all believe the same thing.
Absolutely.
It's all in a very one thing. They're all in one little tiny bubble. There's no diversity of thought. For diversity of physical appearance. When we talk about not judging a book by its cover, they seem to judge people on their physical appearance a lot.
And that's what happens. It becomes very, very comfortable for them because there's no challenge. And when you have people like Malcolm Holt and Robert Holmes and Barry Letts and Philip Hinchcliffe and all these people, in those teams, Terry, you have all those people who are quite opposed politically to each other. But back then, people didn't really talk about their personal politics.
No, they kept it to themselves.
They didn't. But they put their beliefs or whatever into their writing, but in a way that was intelligently written.
Well, what was that old saying? At the pub, no religion, no politics kind of thing, whatever that saying was.
I would also say that they would do that, but they use that kind of dynamism in that group dynamic to be able to fight their corner. And I think if there's that tension in a writer's room where you've got people of differing opinions or whatever, you create a little bit of conflict. And that little bit of conflict is absolutely essential for writing creatively in a group.
Healthy.
And I think that's missing because everyone agrees with each other, so no one's going to criticize it. No one dares criticize it.
Well,
Especially
it's like a bit again. Russell even said it himself, didn't he? He was rather boastful about it. You know, no producer in the land would dare go against me.
Well, they should, Russell.
That's not a good thing to say, is it?
That's the the grandeur.
You think you're coming across as really confident, and confident, that means good, right? Well, not if you're egotistical about it.
It's just arrogant.
It's borderline arrogance. Oh, no one would dare.
It's unfounded arrogance.
But then he backtracked and then sort of like, well, I think he backtracked slightly and then changed it and said, I'd just die, wouldn't I? I'd just cry up in a ball and I wouldn't dare. I'd be too embarrassed. I'm too nervous to send Julie Gardner a bad script or whatever that line was. It was just something to that effect. And it was like, well, what you say? Make your mind up. Because one minute it's no one can dare tell me what to do, or no one's got the guts to stand up to me. Well,
it's a sign of an ego with a inferiority complex. I think that's something stuck in his core. But no one's buying it because the results are on screen. We can see, you can't pull the wool over our eyes. You may think you're the God's gift, but everyone's saying this is absolutely abject rubbish. And because no one dares to say no, and there's no one to rein you in, Russell, this is what happens. Your ego and your self-belief goes off on a tangent. No one dares say no, so you've got all the chains removed, and the BBC can't rein you in because they've given up, basically, because they don't know what to do with it. You had one job to come in and rescue the show from cancellation, which is exactly what was the situation. And what do? You come in and you think you got a handle on it, but no, you just go deeper and deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole and alienating just your average middle of the road, middle ground people, centrists who make up the vast majority. England is a small C conservative country, whether you like it or not. And you alienate the vast majority of the people in this country, you're not getting bums on seats. Doesn't matter how well you even write it, but you're not even writing it well. If you could do it and put your little messages in there, make a compelling story with actual actors who know how to act, that would be something. But you've given us absolute the antithesis of that. And all expectation is, well, you've already put the second season in the can.
I'm in this weird little bit of limbo because I know these are two different shows by two different companies and two different things, I imagine. But like you look at Fallout and like that season, and straight away it's been greenlit for another one. And we're in this, and then you compare that to, again, contrast that to Doctor Who, where they're literally saying, "Oh well, we'll see how the second one does." Well, you don't sound very confident because at the minute, like you've got Russell saying, "Oh, again, different quotes and contradicting himself. Oh, I've wrote a few scripts for season 3, but it's not greenlit yet." But why isn't it? Because if some shows are getting instant success and greenlit straight away, why are you still hesitant on season 2? Okay, you might have signed the 2-year deal, whatever it is, but why? Or why do you want? Why do you need to see how the war between the land and the sea does? Why does you have to wait so long? Why do you have to? Why are we in this sort of this weird place of limbo? Where no one really knows what's going on, and like again, there's questions on people's minds. And again, the whole point of you was to come back, the whole point of bringing you back was to sort of bring it out of cancellation, and like again, this political football, it's not really political, but it's a Doctor Who football, kicked back endlessly back and forth. Oh, it's cancelled. It's cancelled. No, it's not cancelled. It's not cancelled. It's not cancelled.
Schrodinger's Doctor Who.
Forth. That again, like endless cycle. And I just think. Again, like I say, I know they're two different shows, but like, what's all that about? It's like, why isn't it got a third season? Okay, some things are done differently between companies, different countries. I get that, but like, it's just something I've observed. There's other shows that are getting greenlit, other shows that are not, certainly, and then you got Doctor Who that's in its own thing. No one really knows what's happening. We're in this sort of game of, well, it's normal apparently. It's normal to write episodes for a TV show that might not happen. Again, some quote like that. Again, it seems strange. Like backup scripts, so in case it does get greenlit, then you can go. But then again, if you weren't sure whether you were getting a third season, why would you invest so much of your time and energy into writing a show that may or may not happen? Again, whether that's normal or not, I don't know. I wouldn't know, but it just seems strange to me. That because again, we're getting told that it's so successful, or it's so amazing with the young audience. It's doing so well. Well, it's not been greenlit then, is it? For a third season, they're not exactly in a rush to, just to put fans' minds at ease. Even just the casuals. We're not even talking about the people on either one side or the other. Even me, who quite enjoyed this season. Nowhere near as good as the original, as Russell's original run. Far from it, but what is happening again? I've not really thought about Doctor Who too much since it finished, honestly, which is weird. I mean, it's not too unusual because when it's the off season, I do tend to focus on other things, but not to this degree. I've really kind of forgotten about it. I mean, it's October now. We've got the Christmas special, not that far away, really. And again, I remind myself today because it's Wednesday. I'm going on with Noel there. Oh yeah, Doctor Who. Yeah, there's a Christmas special. Oh yeah, but I haven't thought about that for
It feels
a while.
it feels years ago
Yeah.
already. And I didn't watch it. I was out at Davros Gate. Okay, so that was
Yeah.
I wasn't going to give anything any more of a chance. I was willing to watch more up until
Hey,
the
Jack.
point. Hello, Jack. I was up to watching it until I saw that interview with Russell T Davies saying this was what Davros is now and all the reasons for it. I was like, no. Hi, Jack.
Hey, mate.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, you're doing a Chris now. Hi, everyone.
No, it's not that. RTD's got a gun to my head. Shut up.
I gotta give you a voice changer so you can do Russell T Davros.
Right, I'm just going to say that if he says one positive thing about this channel, I'm going to blow his fucking head off. I'm serious.
Is Stephen Moffat in the corner gagged to a chair?
Yeah.
Any chance you can write some fucking Doctor Who, you muppet?
I'm sorry. I didn't realise I was taking an opinion from a silly little Irishman who's telling me how to do my job.
Well, you're not fucking doing your job. That's the problem.
I'm the best writer in the country. I swear to God.
You may have been one of the best writers in the country, but right now you're one of the worst fucking writers.
Mr. Davies, would you just as a thought, just a little thought? It's not like an attack. It's just one tiny little thought. But would you ever be open to potential constructive criticism? Is that okay? Is that allowed?
Or removing the sticks from your ass.
Guys, I'm serious. He's actually got a gun to my head. Can you praise him, please?
No.
I like Boom, and he didn't even write
Jack,
it.
if that was real, I'm sorry, Jack. You'd be taking the bullet. I'm sorry, mate. There is no way I would praise that man. Not even in a parallel universe is that happening. Sorry, mate.
You could fuck off.
So you see how little they care about you, Jack. You see, he's only had you on the channel since 2019. More prepared to let me blow your head off than praise me. My God. Oh, thanks for nothing, no. Oh my God, what have I just done? Oh my God, I just went ahead and did it. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Good. Well, at least you'll be locked up in jail and we won't have to suffer your shit writing anymore.
Guys, I'm not even joking. I have just, oh my God, there's bits of him everywhere. It's all over the screen.
Well,
He'd still be allowed. He'd still be allowed a laptop.
Up.
He'd still be allowed a laptop in his computer room, in his room, and send an email across.
You guys don't care about me at all, do you?
We hate RTD that much, Jack. You shouldn't have done that, man. Don't sacrifice yourself for that, man.
Well, yeah, I did. Rob Moffat in the corner. I'll be getting the next one. Shotgun, yeah.
Do you know what? I've been rewatching Stephen Moffat's era again. And do you know what? Yeah, it did have issues, right? But when you look at it, the writing was so much better. The character development was so much better.
We were discussing this, weren't we, the other day when we were just talking about, certain Moffat episodes. We were talking about, it was mainly Russell, wasn't it? But you talk about just on that, and people and the others will say, oh, yeah, but it's just nostalgia. No, it's really not. I mean, okay, partially some of it will be. I'm not going to lie. I have a certain affinity to the 2005 to 2011-ish era. In the same way that I imagine you and Leo will probably have one, of the late Tom Baker, Peter Davison era. You will feel differently about that era than I will, because I'll see that as. But I love classic Who. I think objectively, I prefer New Who in terms of 2005 to 2017, that's my favourite. But if I was to say objectively, regardless of my opinion, I would say objectively, Doctor Who is at its best, at classic. So, and that's coming from me, who was born years well after that, and me and Jack both. But so it's definitely no bias there. So I can say, with certainty, who is the best Doctor? Well, my favourite's David Tennant, but I would say objectively the best one probably would be Tom Baker, and I didn't even see Tom Baker. So there's that. So it's just, I've lost my train of thought now, but yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest, darling. That makes about as much sense as the finale for series 1.
But then why did you fucking write it then if it didn't make any fucking sense? Like, do you know what I mean? I thought you were a smart man and had fucking brains to burn, but clearly you fucking don't if you can't write a fucking ending to a fucking season finale.
Right, do you want me to be completely honest? I may have asked Chibnall to do it. You see, I was busy that day.
I wouldn't fucking be surprised, man.
Look, he was fine about it. Look, once he'd helped his son with his exams, which has been his excuse for like 10 years now.
And his comedy about women in labour or whatever it was.
Oh, God, he's got this calculator, hasn't he, his son?
Actually, on the thought of that, Chibnall and like Starmer and like brothers or something, because they both seem to do a lot for like their sons, don't they? They seem to.
They hate each other.
They put like their own sons in like 5-star mansions or whatever it is so they can study on exams. There's a lot of support that goes into exams. These kids, these special kids.
I mean, needs emotional support after having that as a father.
Oh yeah. But can I just say this? If you screw up your GCSEs, you can retake them later down the line. I did a degree at 38, for God's sake. So there we go.
It's only anyway.
Well, it's all right. I left with 2 and I turned out okay.
That's another thing. Jack and I were looking into this. Like Russell T Davis, he talks about his working class roots, and he was in the dole queue, and we look back at his life, and there was
you want to talk to Thingy about them?
2 years he was unemployed. 1 year he was unemployed, and then the other year he was working at a theatre, so he was doing that sort of, I guess, unpaid. But it was 2 years, and then he got picked up for TV.
Yeah.
So when all that, and he came from a very well-to-do middle class family, so all this stuff about being down with the people, like the man who said that he wouldn't want creatives selling shoes, like that was a horrible thing. It's like, well, you've just alienated a whole bunch of people who sell shoes. How can you be this self-proclaimed socialist when there you are sipping champagne at awards events, complaining
Phil Collinson's very, very well off wedding, and you look at the pictures and how very lavish. And there's nothing wrong with having a nice wedding. Of course, again, if I had that money, I would too, wouldn't we all? But it's like, that's the bit I can't stand as a northerner, from a working class town in bloody Middlesbrough. As someone who knows what it's like to be on the to have to go to the job centre and have to go and get the employment, which I am doing now. When I have these so-called elites try and lecture me on what's good and moral about the world, when
you got all that white privilege.
and they talk about, and someone's like, but Russell's he's from Swansea. Well, what is Swansea so rough? I mean, I don't know. I mean, look at he doesn't live in a mansion, but he lives in a very nice part of Mumbles with a very nice view. I haven't got that view. That's not jealousy. I'm not like saying that, but at the end of the day, Russell does tend to, and a lot of them tend to preach about kindness, as do they all. A lot of people who pretend to be good.
Yeah,
a lot of people tend to or pretend to be good while actually doing a lot of bad.
Listen to me, Jack. Yeah, have I ever been horrible to you? Well, you did tell me. Yes, exactly. See, I'm the nicest person. I love you all. Honestly, you make my life worth living. I mean, I can't stand to look at you, but you make my life worth living.
You got to do stand-up, Jack. You got to do stand-up, mate.
Yeah. Well, your legacy is going to be you've just made people as dumb as you. That's your legacy. So congratulations.
I can't do that. No, that's it. I'm gone, Jack. Jack, come here. But sit down there. This the stream is yours. I'm gone. I can't listen to this fellow anymore. Bye. Yes, bye.
So bloody oppressed.
Yeah.
Bye,
Did Dan
everyone.
Hadley bump into Russell at the job centre back in that time?
Yeah, there's a lot of this kind of history that's been sort of revised
Histrionics, yeah.
by their biographers or whatever. I just don't buy it at all. I just think that he's led a very privileged life all this time, and I seriously even doubt that he was that big a Doctor Who fan, because I mean, if you think about all the things he's done with the show since, it doesn't smack as someone who actually has any reverence. I mean, he's been on many interviews absolutely railing against classic Doctor Who, and I just don't think...
so is Chibnall.
And Moffat.
I
not
believe,
even so much
but hold on, I believe
difference of
Chibnall's
opinion.
a fan over RTD. Chib was a fan. He was part of that society, and he might have been bang out of line with Pip and Jane Baker, but he is a fan, right? But I would have to question. I've been questioning that myself. Like, I've even said it here before Lee has even come on here again. I even said it. I don't believe that RTD, nobody that writes Doctor Who the way he has written it now, is a fan of the show.
No,
right?
I do believe he is, because I genuinely do. But I think he's got some sort of ownership of it now, because I think he's surrounded. I think he's generally believed the hype. Legend Lord Russell, because it's almost like, I don't know if there's a certain phrase for it, but he's almost overachieved. He's been too successul. A lot of people, who especially grew up again like me with that era. Again, you think about the classic people, and I know I have a lot of respect for JNT, although he got some flack in the late 80s. So it's like a lot of people really hold Russell on this really big pedestal, and it's like, well, I'm in charge of Doctor Who. I'm a fan who got to be in charge. I brought Doctor Who back. I'm the showrunner. I was twice the showrunner. I reigned over the show. It's probably, debatably, its most successful period. The 2000s, when it had a lot of Marvel, a Marvel style cinematic kind of universe.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's always trying to be something else now. It's
a bit too possessive. It's like, it's mine now, and it's like Jinx Monsoon even said it.
I would take.
Was it Jinx Monsoon?
I would take one JNT over 1,000 Russell T Davies.
Oh, amen to that.
But even the language that Jinx Monsoon said, to the effect of, it's his Doctor Who or whatever it was. We've all heard it, but it was like, it's that attitude. Oh, it's mine now. If you don't like Russell, if you don't like bloody Davros, then don't use him.
Yeah.
Wait until somebody else wants to use it. You've got to take it, and you've got to break it so nobody else can ever play with it. And it's like, well, if you don't like something, don't use it.
It's the kid with all the toys doesn't want to share. And
like, there's lots of things about Doctor that I don't like that you guys will love. Like, again, I quite like the Sixth Doctor. I know it's slightly different, but I know Noel isn't particularly a big fan of it. But I wouldn't take away that from Noel, or I wouldn't take something that Noel did like that I hated and say, well, I think you're wrong. I don't like that part of Doctor Who. I don't know how on earth you could like it. I'm going to ruin it so you can't enjoy it anymore. Like, what kind of logic is that? It puzzles me too, because for a so-called fan, and that I do believe, because he's very knowledgeable, and you see the way he's been over the past 20 years, but then you see the decisions he's made, and you think, well, how on earth could you do that?
Is he that
I'm a fan,
knowledgeable?
I wouldn't dream of doing anything like that.
Is he that knowledgeable though? I mean, there's been so many things that he seems to have forgotten from classic Who when it comes to canon. I think that's why he's so obsessed with destroying it. Him and his Fitzroy ilk. But they all seem very keen on destroying it, because I just don't think they fully understand it or know it as well as they claim to.
They've lost it. Yeah. But seriously though, Lee, if you had a replica of like the Resurrection of Daleks, sorry, was it Revenge of the Daleks? The old grey ones. Would you leave it outside to rot?
No.
Exactly.
I think that's a very big sign of his mentality.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're all like. Let the old things die.
Yeah.
They're very obsessed
But
with.
then
I've seen that
again, that goes to
throughout
just leave it alone. Then it's like the Davros thing. It's like you've got to touch it. It's this.
That's
It's
it.
not even just a Russell thing. It's we're talking about like all these movies getting a remake that no one asked for. Like, again, I watched that first Beverly Hills Cop with Nolan and John on the stream, and I really enjoyed it. And I know there's a couple of films, but did anyone actually really ask for another one? There's a lot of remakes and a lot of sequels to films from 40 years ago. Now, obviously, I suppose the one exception was the Tom Cruise one, which was successful. But that idea, we're constantly going back, and it's like even with Star Wars, it's like for all the other IPs out there and all the other franchises, they talk about moving forward, being so progressive in going in new direction, or it's bold new storytelling. They're obsessed with canon, though. We saw it at the time as Charles, for example. We saw it in other aspects. Again, I'm not a Star Trek fan, but I know they've messed around with Spock, haven't they? And perhaps his backstory. Star Wars are messing around with the whole midichlorians and changing aspects of the lore. Again, for all this talk about, again, even Russell said it, we don't talk about past Doctors on set. Well, that's funny, because you do seem to sort of reference Classic Who quite a lot, and other aspects quite a lot. I thought it was going to be a clean slate. I thought, okay, this was the jumping off point. Even if you didn't like what's going on now, you could make that sort of general mental leap. Okay, well, the 60s was the end. That's the old Doctor now. He's retired. This is a new Doctor. Although I would say it's the same one. But you could make that. I said at the time, I think when we did the review, you could do that if you want to. If you want to separate them, now is a chance. But now you can't, because he's bringing it all back. You saw it in Rogue with all the Doctors, and hell, bringing Richard E. Grant in for whatever reason, just to mess things up a bit more for a laugh. Oh,
He's
what was
just
it
trolling. It's trolling. It's lowbrow.
It's rage bait at this point. It's rage bait, isn't it?
You just have to suck it up, fanboys. It really is facetious. It's done as a deliberate troll. He knows he's trying to. I mean, he said it himself. He wants an audience of under 30s, right? Which means basically anyone who was born after the original show won't have any connection to it, because he wants to create Doctor Who in his own image, which is TQ plus, effectively. Yeah. That's all it is. It's just one big propaganda piece for his crazy ideology, which I think ever since he went to America and became part of that clique over there, became part of the Writers Guild or whatever over there, and lived over there and got in with the likes of Jinx Monsoon and all that rabble, I think that he came back a changed man. I think they got into his brain, dipped their fingers in there, so to speak, and changed him into their image. And I think he's come back more radicalized than he's ever been. And I think he's always had those beliefs, but I think he's become even more radicalized. I would probably put that down to his own personal tragedies. Perhaps I don't want to speculate, but that's my genuine.
I think when he went to America and he's seen how free everybody was able to express themselves over there, and then obviously when he came back here, he said, "Screw it, I'm going to start doing it here." Because you're right, because even Jordan, his first era of Doctor Who, he was actually kept on a bit of a leash because he had some crazy, wild, mad, out there ideas for Doctor Who at the time, which he never got to do because BBC obviously put their foot down. So there's a lot that he wanted to do even back in the early days that would have probably raised a lot of
time where Doctor Who couldn't afford to sort of piss about, I suppose, for want of a better phrase, about, again, I've always said it, Russell's sort of goal, or the team's goal, and I know it was a bit of a toxic environment possibly behind the scenes at some points, but I've always said it, the goal back then was to establish Doctor Who. It was to make it cool and modern and fitting for the 21st century. No, it wasn't just a relic of a bygone era. Oh, Doctor Who's back. Oh, that show? That's not been on for years. And the laugh and the jokes and pepper pots, and you see on a talk show, oh, let's wheel the Dalek out. It was, that's bad sci-fi. It's not Star Wars. And it came back with a bang, and it was very successful. Whereas now it's complacent. Now it's
too complacent.
Now it doesn't feel a need to be good or work for it. It sort of expects it, and that's what it felt like for the British viewer at the moment for the recent season and the current era. It just took the British viewers for granted. It didn't really bother. Didn't really make an effort for them. they ran off and tried to sort of seduce and flatter their eyelashes over the American audience and to give them the ideal time slot, and we sort of had to make do, and then he sort of tried to double down and tried to sort of do a bit of copium and try to sort of explain, but we've had sort of, well, I had to wait 2 weeks to get the TV movie on video or cassette or whatever it was, and it tried to sort of just pacify it and come up with excuses. You know, they take the British audience for granted, which is probably a first mistake because clearly not doing well with us overall anymore. And you see it just in the public consciousness, and many people talking about it. Not really. Even just casuals, it's not in the same sphere.
It's not in
as
the
it was in
zeitgeist.
2010. It's not even. Nobody's really. Forget about the ratings. Like, just in general, are people actually even talking about it?
No.
Is there a buzz about it?
He's obsessed.
Here's the thing: the last article on Doctor Who.
He's obsessed with trying to chase this imaginary modern new audience,
mysterious audience.
Exist. It's not in the conversation because there's no genuine love for it anymore. It's out of the British public's consciousness.
Sure, they've only started to report on the Christmas special. They've only started to report on the Christmas special since yesterday. And before that, there had been nothing for 4 weeks. They also released the fact that the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday are getting their action figures now. That was in.
Oh yeah, but they don't cry. They don't cry.
£40. £40.
And they don't cry.
Yeah, I mean that's quite, especially for the sonic screwdriver. Again, there'll be people that'll defend it because there has to be. But it's like it's not even affordable now. Like it's for a young child. I mean. Yeah. I don't even think. I mean, they look good.
Back in a minute.
I'm sure that they look better on like when they've. I don't know if it's just the image, but like when we first saw it at that sort of toy fair event, and they were in the glass display, and somebody sort of took a photo of it from a distance, and whether it's the lighting or the angle, but I felt like there was more detail on that one than there was on the officially released. Again, the character options will have a white set background on the certain cameras, and it'll be a different photo. So it might look different in person, but it's just I feel like we're getting away from. I mean, I guess it depends on who's the target audience now. Who are buying these figures? Is it 17? Is it young adults? Is it children? Because again, I remember as a kid,
parents aren't going to pay for it. Jack was saying this earlier. You know, parents are going to take one look at the price of that £40 for 2 figures. They're going to
Jesus Christ, yeah. At 20, you could probably get away with it. There will be soon, playing the bargain bucket.
Yeah.
It's like anything now, and on my channel, my toy channel, I've talked about this, and all action figure companies are doing this. Like, you slap that collector's logo on it, and that seems to give you a gold stamp to just jack up the price. What's
this Vortex collection? I mean...
it's just another word for it. It was meant to be character exclusive, but they thought, no, we'll just call it Vortex, because... We've got to be cool and annoying.
Oh, it is a Doctor Who word.
No, but it's not that. Me and Lee still collect the classic series figures.
Yeah, but you look at again. I will know. Jack probably will as well. But you know, when you used to go to Toys R Us, and there used to be a ginormous section of just like the Doctor on like Tenant Doctor on the sign, and there'd be everything. I mean, bloody hell! Remember the old lady? Then the grandmother from the Idiot's Lantern, hell, even she got an action figure. It was at that point where everything and everyone got one, except for like the big characters that like, never got one. There was like, you know, I can't remember which, but there was like, you wouldn't get a Harry Sullivan figure, or there was another character that was like a fairly big character that didn't get one for a while. But then you know that was something that I always found funny. Like you never really just got an Ian Chesterton one a couple of years ago, but we've had the grandmother from the Idiot's Lantern for years. You know, it was at that point where everything was getting one. Everything, there was loads of the accessories, the sonic screwdrivers, the psychic paper, the Doctor's diary from the Family of Blood, all his notes and his drawings.
Yeah,
you know, one prop from one episode, and it got its own merch. You know, there was everything. You know, the Froobs, remember them, like getting them little yogurt things? It was Doctor Who themed one of those. Everything is everywhere, and again, that's why I say, even forget about the ratings. The buzz just isn't there. It's not 2010 anymore. when they were releasing the adventure game. That was actually really good.
They weren't too bad. They were canonical. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you told me, and I played those and I enjoyed them. And you can't really get them anymore unless someone's got an emulator of them on eBay or somewhere. But I know some people have still got them. But
you can get a US copy altogether on PC. But I've actually got the original files.
And they didn't even need to do that. I remember actually it was after Victor of the Dark. Was it Victor of the Dark? It was the third Matt Smith one. And like afterwards, there was a promotion for it, and it was Matt Smith's face. It was like a trailer, and it turned around, it zoomed, the camera panned around his head, and it morphed from. You see, there you go. You know the one I'm talking about. It morphed from his face to one of the pixelated, the character, and it was actually a really good game. And it was probably the closest you could get to like an open world Doctor Who game. It was actually very good. And I always really enjoyed it.
Doctor Who,
and there was a lot of care and detail into that as well, because there was collector's items in there about the classic Doctors, so you would learn about again. And I felt that just in general, as a sort of new Who fan, there was always an emphasis on like, no, there was a classic show before. Like it was never just a feeling like, oh no, it's just a new Who. Like even I used to get the Doctor Who Adventures, which were like Doctor Who magazine, but for like kids.
Yeah.
And like obviously I was young and autistic and just obsessed with Doctor Who, so I'd get everything. And there was always a push to sort of include classic Who and to teach the kids like, oh no, there was an old show before this one, Whereas now it's like, no, forget about that. No, that's too embarrassing. Oh no, let's remove that. Oh no, sorry, we've got to remove or what is it? Is it Fear Her? Oh yeah, we've got to remove Fear Her because Hugh Edwards had done it for 1 second. Or his voice was on it, or something like that. It's like, and it's still not even on. I thought they'd edit it and put it back on by now, but I still checked the other day and it's still not there. Or they're removing something. I don't know if it's actually, I could be wrong here, but Ian Levine said something about they're removing something from the audios. They took it off. They seem hell bent on just again obsessing and dredging up the continuity, whilst also saying at the same breath, oh yeah, let's obsess about the continuity and we're going to mess everything up and poke around with it. Oh, but at the same time, don't look at those stories because they're a bit icky. And like when we had to release the Peter Cushing movies, we had to stick a label on and said, just in case, you're thick. These movies were made in 1966, so there might be themes or phrases or common, societal.
I want to watch it more.
Stereotypes at the time that might have been relevant at the time that might not be accurate anymore. I might offend you. Well, yeah, it's from 1966. There might be something that might, the Doctor might, again, like the Doctor. What was it you said? Oh well, yes, I could have said anything really. It's again, it's really no common sense anymore.
I know. They've lost it. Totally lost the plot. You're right there, Lee.
Yeah, I was just thinking, about Doctor Who merchandise and the state of it. When it comes to the games and things, I don't think any money really. I mean, the BBC has always been cheap with merchandise. Character options were, really quite unusual in the sense that they actually produce quality. Well, until kind of recently, but they
12 Doctor Sonic Screwdrivers. I think it's an amazing replica for what it is.
Well, I to be honest with you, I mean the shortfall in character options figures now has led me down the rabbit hole of finding, artisans producing their own 3D prints, 3D sculpts, and enjoying, even though they're more pricey, they're filling the gap that is in the collection that will never ever be resolved or filled in, because Al Dewar seems to be fixated on whatever he wants to produce, and Jack has really filled me on the history of this, so he can talk about that a bit more than I can. But I've been going crazy with the
just do me a big favor, my friend. If you're getting PLA stuff, make sure it's a thick cast, okay? I've seen some horrible accidents recently.
I know, yeah. There's
it's like soft styrene, and soft styrene and sunlight don't mix.
Yeah, I had to send a console back. It was a 5th Doctor console because it was just almost transparent and a bit warped. And he sent He sent me a new one. Because I bought pretty much all of them, but it was a lot better quality, a lot thicker, and much better. And I've also recently got a Bessie in scale.
Oh, Bessie!
Yeah, and a Whomobile but that apparently isn't in scale. So I've had to send. Well, I haven't sent it back, but they said they're going to make me a fixed one, so
Yeah.
that the perch we figured out actually sit in it. But that it looks fantastic, and that's where I would rather spend. I'd rather spend my money to people who make these things out of love than anything that the BBC sort of goes, "Oh, you can do that," you know, or.
I mean, hell, I mean, isn't that kind of why the Blu-ray sets are at least quite, you know, one of the more successful things about Doctor at the minute? Because I know from, you know, I think maybe somebody said, you know, even the seasons that like the team perhaps don't like, they still give it as much as attention and care as they would for a season that they did like. And it's like, you know, another thing on the merchandise, it's not just the lack of it; it's the timing of it. I can. This is another thing, and I could be wrong here. Well, I'm aware of that because I don't know for definite. But it's like the timing of it. You know, season 1 was finished months ago now, and it's like you've only just releasing the action figure, the Sonic Screwdriver. I get it; it came out before because it was at Comic Con, but and I get timed exclusives are a thing. But it's like, well, even then, the Sonic Screwdriver, that was even then the Comic Con was after the show finished, and it was like I remember. I'm almost certain that I really am that almost certain that like for the Matt Smith era or possibly for before, like they'd actually released the figures more in time with the show. Because I'm almost certain. Again, as a kid, I got again there was an 11th Doctor's figure set, and I got that for my birthday, and that was again in September. So. And they aired the show around April, July, so it can't have been that far off. And there was like a twin pack. There was a Raggedy Doctor or the 11th Doctor and the 10th Doctor's clothes, and then the normal new 11th Doctor. And that was like brand new. And I'm sure that came out around the same time. And there used to be those old adverts on the TV, probably on children's TV channels and anything like that. But there was always those old Doctor Who waves, you know, like there'll be new figures for like each season. There's like compilations of on YouTube of like series 1 figures, series 2 figures, series 3 figures, 4, 5 even. You know, there was.
But the figures
the
figures are really restricted by what Alduar wants. Like if you notice, there's a dearth of 70s stuff because that's his favorite era, which is mine as well, to be fair. But the 60s era and anything from the 80s is kind of somewhat lacking. And one thing I will say is that it seems that they're sort of going down the figures, you know, re-releasing figures rather than actually making any new sculpts, because I just don't think they're getting the money anymore. And I think as well, it's the monsters and companions that are somewhat lacking. There's still no classic TARDIS play sets. And that's why I'm finding myself on Etsy and eBay and looking for these, you know, these other things, because it's just not being. It's just, and I know these things sell. They sell. People.
Well, of course they would. Again, even when they announced the new even when they announced the new figures, I saw one tweet. Oh, can we have the TARDIS playset, please? And I would personally, really would like, because I actually really do like the new TARDIS. It's really big. I know people say it's a bit empty, and like I get that, but you know, I'm one of the few people that actually do like it. So I would snap that up. I'll get that quicker than the Doctors, the action figures, to be honest, because I could get them probably another time. The TARDIS playsets would absolutely sell. It's almost like guaranteed money. That's something that people would actually want.
I'd rather pay £40 for that than...
Not a Jinx Monsoon pin from Forbidden Planet. It's like, you know, you used to get something, you know, you're confident people, but of course the people would want that. I mean, I got, you know, I've been being so excited as a kid when I got the 11th Doctor's TARDIS. It wasn't as good as the 9th and 10th because it was kind of made out of cardboard. And, well, it was cardboard on the Russell T Davies one too, but at least that one had buttons and sound effects and lights, whereas the Maxis one didn't. But it was still good. I've still got it. I'm literally looking at it now.
I've got it as well. I've got both. I mean, I managed to do a bid on something on eBay. I think I kind of paid 70 quid or something. It was like a big mystery box, and it had a TARDIS playset. It had a load of like really rare figures in there and stuff as well. So I was like, I more than made my money's worth of that.
And even recently, there was I used to watch Batman March because he used to do a lot of Doctor Who. Well, he still does really. A lot of he does very good. Doctor Who. Yeah, and obviously I dropped off. But he had he showed years ago of like an old Daypol 80s, 1987 diorama playset by Dayport, and I obsessed over that for the longest time. And I always promised myself I'd get it.
I had the
One with
Tardis.
the green K9 and everything. It was the Doctor.
That was a mistake.
Mel. K9 was, well, I think one was green. I can't remember if mine's green. I don't know if they fixed that.
They took a picture of K9 on grass, and the green was reflecting
Yeah.
off his grey surface. I thought it was green.
The picture's literally grass. I'm looking at it now. You got there isn't a tech trap, but there was a little console there. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be great because it wasn't full. The panels didn't go all the way around, but it's something. It was the TARDIS playset, and
five-sided, yeah.
And even for me, looking at it as a younger person, I think for the 80s standard, that's quite impressive. And I managed to get that for quite a good deal too, just around 200, and it's still all preserved in its box. But again, that was years ago.
They were expensive back then because when I was at school, all we had really was the Dapol, but it's really hard to get because I think you really had to sort of get them through mail order or things like that. But it was just a case of really struggling to find where to get them most of the time. And I always wanted that playset, and I never got it until recently. I got the console, I got all the bits separately.
The 5-sided console, yeah.
Yeah, the 5-sided, really noisy, barely works console.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's so cranky, but I love
it. It goes up and down, but yeah, it's nice to have it in the original box. It's styrofoam. But it's nice to have.
I got another set from eBay. It was a Pertwee one, so it had like a Sea Devil. What else did it have? It had Pertwee's Master, a Dalek. I can't remember. The Sea Devil and something else. I can't remember, but yeah.
It was certain decisions as well. There was it was when they changed it, and it was really well. It was after the Matt Smith era is when it really dropped off because you'd get again it was everything. It was a few changes. It went to Lego, that little Lego thing they did for a while. They went from 5.5 inch to the really small 3.7 inch, and they really shrunk it down. And obviously, I thought, well, I don't want that. Why the smalling? That's not cool. I want the normal size ones. Again, even as a kid, I'm like, well, I don't want to get there. They're too small.
Well, that line failed, didn't it? Did you see Davros?
Yeah, they're terrible. And again, they switched to B&M. Okay, the 3 packs.
God, B&M,
it was re-releases, and it was nothing new for a while. And the backgrounds, when you used to buy the figures, they used to actually have a background diorama thing. So you for the YouTubers that would do the action figure adventures and do a stop motion and actually do their own stories, Batman Match did. And those were always good because you could always take those little inserts you get from the cardboard and use the set from it. They didn't do that anymore. There's a lot of decisions that just changed it, and the production for the normal figures that you did want, not the tiny little fucking ones nobody wanted. But even the tiny ones they did release sets for that, and I thought, so you'll release sets for those tiny ones, but you won't do ones for the big sized ones, for the average sized ones that people actually do get. And then again, you'd have 5 different 12th Doctor figures. Well, one with a polka dot. It was different variants. There's nothing particularly new. Or you get one Missy, one was a Bill. But again, it really did it was drip fed. It was like a tap. It was dripping out occasionally. The odd little 12th Doctor era figure. And then, of course, and we don't even need to talk about the Jodie era. We got a doll, and I feel we've got the companion, and that was about it. I mean, God, and you look at it now, it's pretty much the same thing. We've had to wait.
Well, you're getting a new set, Jack. What's the set we're getting coming this year?
We're getting a re-release of the Emperor Davros with some paint improvements somewhere, some inaccuracies elsewhere, and you're also getting a Resurrection of the Daleks 2-pack with the Supreme Dalek and a general drone Dalek. But apparently there's going to be a chase variant because in Resurrection of the Daleks, some of the props had just a grey mesh and others had a white strip going round. So because I'm sad, I'm going to want both versions, so I'm probably going to end up stuck with 2.
There's sort of small re-releases with a few small improvements. I did get the there was a 4th Doctor. It's from Robot, and it got the K1 robot. Now, previously, now that was good because there was actually a sort of benefit to get that, because before you'd have to do it the long way around. Back when it was cool to sort of collect figures and you get the build a wave thing, and all sorts of companies did that. Oh, collect 5 figures and you can build 1 new one if you do it. You know, as an incentive to do it all.
I went to a toy fair. I went to a toy fair with Jack the other day, and I found an original Dennis Fisher 1970s K1 robot. So I picked that up. Don't ask how much.
Must have cost a fair bit, did it?
Yeah, and then I got home and found one for the same price on eBay. But mine had like missing bits on its shoulder, but that one had all the bit.
I know that.
It's lovely to get it in hand and just go, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, I got it because the character options one, because it was all built, it was already done, and the 4th Doctor, I've already got it twice now because it's literally the same exact clothes, but the new one does have better detail.
Yeah.
But the quality control is still not great because it falls over because the scarf's too long. It pushes it over. So
they're bringing out a new series set, aren't they? Is it next year or is it December, Jack?
Hang on, we've got a visitor.
Get it off. Russell will hate that. Russell will hate that. You know, you're not allowed to have that on.
There's a problem with Davros of old.
I won't be going up about it, and just if I don't like it, leave it alone, and keep it for others who do like it. I've got to take it and break it for everyone else too, because I don't like it.
Well, I mean, if you take out Davros for those reasons, then you have to take out the Daleks, you have to take out the Cybermen.
Everybody was saying, what are the Cybermen offensive to people with, prosthetic arms? People with mental illness because they've got no emotions. That's it. Yeah, it's a Cybermen offensive to psychopaths because they've got no empathy and no emotion for others. Is Syl offensive to people with no?
Syl's offensive to everybody.
Yeah, people who can't walk.
He is offensive to everybody. Rabbi,
Jews are very offensive to Nabal Shaban, aren't they? But
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God, these people are crazy. Please, Lee. Say
no, Jack, what other masks do you have?
Harry Potter and the Zionist plot.
Masks.
There you go, Jake. Get that down.
I am Davros.
I'm your worst nightmare. Oh, there he is.
Dare disrespect me? No.
RTD is the one that disrespected you by taking you out of your wheelchair, mate. Don't be mad at me. Apparently all people that are in wheelchairs are evil or something.
We need Davros on a Zimmer frame now.
Yeah.
Come back with my wheelchair. Well, it's actually a life support machine, but they call it a wheelchair.
That's what it was. It was a self-sustaining life support machine.
Yeah.
It wasn't a wheelchair.
People keep breaking. Yeah.
I tried to tell him this, but he said I was oppressing him. Whatever you Earth creatures consider to be your social justice nonsense.
And you know what? Another thing, and I know we've all said it, but it's like if it doesn't have a leg to stand on anyway. But it's like if Russell did it, Davros never came back for Series 4 or Series 9, then maybe there might be some sort of leg to stand on, possibly. But I'm sorry, Russell, but you literally brought him back, and like you brought him back and made him more grotesque, if anything.
But I don't think Davros has got a leg to stand.
So, like, what changed? Like, you've clearly gone away and thought about it, and your opinion's changed on it. Because clearly in 2008 you were enthralled with it. I think there's literally, if you watch The Confidential, he's literally like, queuing about it, or whatever the bloody word is. He's like a kid in a sweet shop. And again, what even Series 9? But 2015, that's very close to the sort of progressive age. We're getting very, late 2010s. We're getting very liberal territory here.
It's okay.
Wasn't a problem then. Still,
it's not okay for disabled people to be evil, but it's okay for white men to be evil. I mean, if you're going to start picking
I
on
know.
groups and saying one is, then you're creating a two-tier system. This is in the chase for so-called equity, right? So they level the playing field. That is not how it works. So many people are growing up these days feeling disenfranchised simply because of the color of their skin.
I know.
And that should not happen one way or the other, you know, and it shouldn't just be okay to denigrate a whole group of people now because it's not classed as racist when it actually is. Oh, look, Silurians, they all know about racism, don't you, Silurian? I disagree.
Sake.
I think I said I was saying on Dobby's chat the other day. I was saying that the problem with problem with equity is it's just visual, isn't it? And the real people who should be qualifying for equity don't qualify for equity.
Yeah, but again, it's the ever going circle of contradiction. Because again, like I said earlier, what happened to sort of not judging a book by its cover and judging people on their own merits? But then, like that's the entire ideology. You've got to be judged on who you are. You're not allowed to be. Again, I saw a comment from one person, and I used to follow him, but then it just got too much, and I thought, you know what? There comes a point where you can still follow someone, even if you disagree with them. But he chatted something so ridiculous that no, that is like unforgivable. That's inappropriate. He just lost all respect. And at one point, this guy was like, "No, you're not allowed to be colorblind. You're not allowed to say Shooty Gatwa. So I'm not allowed to go to Shooty Gatwa and say, do you know what, mate? I'm going to treat you for you. I'm going to judge you by your actions and how you are with me, and how well you can judge me how I am with you.
I have
that's
a
what you're
massive
supposed
problem.
to. But but he said that's not good enough. I have to acknowledge. He said I have to acknowledge the fact that he was black, and I have to. I mean, obviously he was black. He is black, but I have to acknowledge it. I have to make a big fuss about it. That seems weird to me because that seems foreign. Because where I come from, if you're all right with me, I'm all right with you. You know, that's okay. Not just where I come from, everywhere. Really, if you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. If you've got no problem with me, I've got no problem with you.
This is a problem I have with people who assert that you have to have some kind of permission. There's this sanctum. I'm going to say it. My key
favorite word.
Inclination for authoritarian mindsets to try and lord over other people's opinions by controlling and manipulating manipulating the language, and trying to use examples of how people can be depersoned simply by some kind of arbitrary decision because they claim that you are not allowed. Who allowed this person? Why are you allowing this person a platform? Why are you allowing the? And it's like, well, who the fuck are you?
I know.
To say that I need your permission. What arrogance, you know?
Yeah.
If you can't argue the points intellectually, then shut up and get out my way. Simple as that. If you can't argue from a position of intellectual thirst for knowledge or for interpretation or whatever, doesn't matter what the reason is. But if you cannot argue it and your only weapon is to silence people and to use stupid, who allowed you to come? Who allowed you?
I know.
I'm not. No, not happening. It's just not happening. That bothers me so much. Who allows you? I mean, get real.
Because and again, that creates racism in itself. Because I then have to treat, according to that person, I have to go up my way to acknowledge. Again, it's like if I come around your house and you're like, "No, you're not coming in." Why? Because you've not acknowledged my gayness today. You've not acknowledged how
you didn't use my correct pronouns.
You've not addressed me by the name I want. It's like, well, okay, now you're saying, by your definition and your logic, that I now have to treat Shooty Gatwa differently to David Tennant because I have to acknowledge his his something special about him that
Chocolatiness,
separates
as
him
he
from
called it.
Sylvester
Yeah.
McCoy,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
separates him from Colin Baker.
I don't deal with people like Gatwell because I'm sorry, he's a racist and he's a fucking moron. Okay, he's one of those fashionista types that I know these types very well. I've been on that circuit. I know them inside and bloody out. He is totally grifting on this whole nonsense. He's not an accomplished actor. We saw him in Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my God.
awful. We've seen him now as the well, I've only seen clips because I certainly wasn't going to put myself through it. But he's terrible. He's terrible. I'm sorry. There's no way that guy got where he is simply on talent alone, because God knows that is just somewhat lacking. I'm sorry. There's just nothing there. And Doctor Who's Rabbi says, Doctor Who's the show that will find you out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is.
Lee, very quickly, mate. As a descendant of Anne Hathaway, I think he's shit. Oh.
That's another phrase, isn't it? As of this, or
And he's
as
racist.
a Jew.
He's a
As of this,
racist,
or as a
yeah.
Jew, I don't like what Israel is doing. Or as of this, it gives your argument any more water because but you're one of them and you're saying one of them is bad. Ooh, there you go. Then you've won the discussion. No more talk needs to be had.
Yeah.
Right there and then, bang, bosh, sealed and done, delivered. Right? As of this, but no, as of this or nothing. Makes no difference. Doesn't mean you're what. It doesn't give you any more water than anybody else. Again, it's all about arrogance.
I know.
It's a lot of arrogance. It's a lot
It's
of
people
ego.
who now are in positions of power because they know they can get away with saying and doing anything they want without anyone criticizing them or any comeback on them. They've got a superiority complex. They're just swanning through life, given everything handed to them, and they get to shit on anyone they like without any pushback. And it's been going on for far too long. And I'm sorry, but that seems to be coming to a close, and it should do. These people are disgusting. They come out of their little, little nightlife scenes, and they take over the geekdoms, and they go,
xenomorphs, aren't they?
And it's just like, look, that is not what this is about. It's Doctor Who's never been about that. Maybe between actors at lovey parties, fine, that's fine.
Yeah.
But in when you got the lovies taking over the fandom, the normies who are activists or whatever, they just want to fit in. It's just become a fashion accessory.
I know the two are very, very different, but I think you made the point once of when you were talking about sort of like the gay community and how at one point it was like, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it was like at one point it was kind of cool to be gay, or it was like the outsiders perhaps, and then now it's so big, and now everybody's this or this. But
now. It's corporate.
Like being a Doctor Who fan. It used to be cool being a Doctor Who fan, but now you've got to. Now it's all slate queen. Now it's all cringe. Like at one point it was cool, but now everybody's in.
Now they're trying to engineer it to be cool.
Yeah, if you get what I mean, it was something like that you said once. It was like it was one point. There was these people, and this is what we were, and we were just that. I know everyone wanted to come in, and now everyone wants to come in.
Trying to make Doctor Who cool kills Doctor Who.
Yeah,
because it ceases to be when you put image and style over substance and good old romper fun, it ceases to be Doctor Who. It just becomes a fashion accessory to be toted around on Twitter and for likes and for social engineering. Yeah, for social.
Like a chihuahua on your arm. Yeah, it's
nonsense. The more you try and make it cool, like this is why I kind of had a problem with when it came back with Tennant and Eccleston was fine, but I think with Tennant, you had this influx of sort of fangirls, like the Twilight kind of
thing. God, yeah.
And that was where it all started. And then when it became cool and mainstream, that's when it started to die on the vine, because that's when you get all the people in who don't get it. It became very lowbrow very quickly. You don't have the same intellectual weight of writers like Terrence Dicks or whatever to carry it forward. I'm not saying that they did the best most intelligent things ever written, but there was a certain level of language used in classic Doctor Who, which you just don't get anymore. It's very base now, and I
That's
get
what
that
I
it's going to be
believe.
more things to more people, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
people come in who've no regard for its history or no regard for the lore. And they just kind of see it as the next hip thing, and it's like, yeah, baby, Doctor Who, yeah, woo. And it's just so removed. It's like you see it
This
with
is
Star
why I'm
Wars,
not
you know,
like
the
a
red
big.
carpets, and
This is why I'm not
people
anti-gatekeeping. Like, I think, to a certain degree, there's a healthy amount to gatekeep. I think there should be gatekeeping to
yeah,
some degree.
at this point,
It should be. We should preserve things. We should say, no, this is what it is. It shouldn't be messed with. Leave it alone. No, it's not that. No, the Doctor isn't autistic, for God's sake. No, he's
or
not
a
a virgin.
virgin,
Oh, he's this. He's that. No, he's not. He's just what he
or
is.
gay.
He's an alien. Yeah, okay, or bi, or whatever. He's just a doctor. He doesn't have to be this. You
And
don't
he's
have to
not a
come up
they
with some
them.
earth-shattering screen rant theory where you're going to basically you're going to change the whole show based on one sentence said 57 years ago, or something to that effect. It's just a healthy amount of gatekeeping is just fine. Again, it's the word gatekeeping. Scary word, but it's not. Again, when used moderately, again, you don't have to, there's some leeway. Again, you don't
That's the
go too
thing.
overboard with it.
That's what these activists and these fashionista types prey on. They prey on other people's acceptance and natural inclusivity and welcoming nature. Because obviously, we want to share our passion. We want people to come into the fandom. We want them to share in our love for the show. But when people come in and they don't have that intent, they want to take it over and change it to something. They love the show so much they want to change it completely. Like that's not how it works. It becomes such an abusive relationship. And these colonizers, and that's what I'll call them, because I'm going to use their own language against them. They are colonizers. They have come into our fandom, taken it over, and then told us to get out. People who supported this show for
and
decades.
it's a recurring trend. Again, I see it time and time again. I'm a big gamer. And no one knows this, but for Call of Duty, for example, there's a Zombies mod that has its very core audience.
Talk to Jack about that, because Jack's well into playing that.
Well, yeah, but there's a certain atmosphere, and there's a certain way of that mode is, and then they changed it and tried to incorporate multiplayer players and Warzone players and players from the other game modes, and they tried to merge it, but in doing so, they've lost what made it Zombies good in the first place. So they've catered it towards the players who never were interested anyway. And then when they played it, they played it, and then they done one. And then the people who were always there anyway, well, they're not happy because then they feel like their product's ruined. And that's what Doctor Who feels like. At one point, it was really good, and then it's been changed to cater to this
facsimile.
person, this, that, and everyone else.
It's got a
again, like you've got people like Jinx Monsoon. Oh, I'm a fan for life. No, you're not. You'll watch it once because you're in it, and then you'll go again. Or people who are fans of Jinx Monsoon might watch it because she's in it. You're not a fan of Doctor Who. You're a fan of something that is in Doctor Who. And it's us are the ones that are left with a broken,
show us your
changed product.
Show us your collection. That's what I say to these. Go on, show us your figures. Go on, show us your DVDs.
Exactly.
Go on.
Did you? Yeah. Did they spend 750 quid on the Blu-rays? Because I did. And to be honest, that's quite a good deal because some of them, season 19, were going for 300 a pop. But like again, the Daypole set that was really expensive and took me years to find. Again, as a kid, I sat there and promised myself I would get every single Doctor Who story on DVD. Now that's not particularly that difficult, but as a kid, that sounded really challenging. And I was proud of myself when I actually got that. When I actually could sit there and say, I own every story, even the audios. I'm going to collect all the audios for the BBC audios that were getting released. I can now safely say that I own every single Doctor Who story.
It's a mindset that these people do not have, and no matter how fake they are, they cannot fake an actual fan's mentality. They can try, they can bullshit. They're very good at bullshit, but they're not good at showing how absolutely fanatical they are about the actual show, not the politics of the show or the representation that they're on about, but the actual show at its core. They're not very good at that. There was an example.
I mean, Russell literally has a photo of himself in his own house that he takes pictures with constantly. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
that, you know, having an office with your own face on a canvas. I mean, that kind of says a lot, doesn't it?
Well, there's this Lord of the Rings channel. I can't remember his name, but it was someone in his comments saying, "Oh well, I trust such and such from such a publication over you with your figures." You know, like that was the gotcha. You know, so the expert who's a journalist and I don't know, Screen Rant, whatever, has a better take and more educated than a fan who has plastic toys on the wall. Who's going to listen to you? And I think that shows you their contempt for actual fans. You know, they think that, oh, you just have a childlike mentality, so you collect toys, so you can't be very intelligent. You're just a little whatever. And that's the mistake these fuckers make. And it's really they just out themselves every time that they go on the attack like this.
Right. Well, listen, guys, we're gonna leave it there. An hour and 45. I did say an hour, but there you go. That's what happens when you have a conversation. But what I'll do is we always do. We get everybody around the panel to do their shout outs. Myself and Jack will be doing Alien Romulus, because I did say I would do a stream with him on that, because apparently myself and Jack don't actually like that movie, and it seems to be very popular with everybody. But for me, it's an absolute abomination of a movie, to be quite honest with you. You know, if you're going to try and rehash the original movie and like get Ripley, like I've got plenty of feelings on that movie, and there's a stupid dumb scene in it, which is the dumbest scene that I've seen in an Alien movie franchise. I swear. Ridley Scott just needs to give up the ghost now. Leave it out, mate. You're a has-been.
Oh man, Ridley.
But there you go. He's got his alien mask face thing there. That looks fucking deadly. But we're going to be talking about it. Hopefully next week or whenever we can arrange it. But we're definitely going to be doing it on here. So join us for that, because I've got plenty of feelings about that movie. But anyway, let's go with the channel shout outs and social media, and we'll start with Lee for a change. Yay!
Hello. Yeah, well, I haven't got anything really new to promote or anything like that. I'm just so busy doing my own shit. I haven't really been online. I haven't uploaded anything for ages. I know that there are people asking me about when am I going to do the next part of the First Doctor adventure on my Ordred channel, but I have paid work that I have to get done first, which is taking up all my time. Even when I'm not doing it, I'm thinking about it constantly and getting very bloody anxious about it. So I've got nothing really to promote other than to say go and check out Jack Rabbit podcast, because there's a great chat with Jack and Chris Bolstrek on there. If you haven't checked it out, go and check it out.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Fantastic. It's a really great fun chat.
Good to see Chris back as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's it, really. You can follow me on Instagram. That's about it. Ordred Audiovisual. That's it.
Fantastic. We'll go with Jack next. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, hi everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't contribute more to the stream than impressions and showing off my real face. But yeah, it's there's not much to plug at the moment because I'm a little bit behind with uploads. However, I do have, as said, a great stream with the one and only Bolstrek, who was an absolute pleasure to have on. You know, he really started my journey in this fandom. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't know Noel or Lee, who, you know, has been a very, very close friends to me and have actually, dare I say it, saved my life. So I owe a lot to Chris, and it was an absolute pleasure having him on. And I can confirm, anyone who thinks he's miserable and horrible, well, you're wrong, because he is honestly one of the loveliest guys I've ever had the pleasure to chat with. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll also be doing a Halloween themed stream, all ranking our Halloween films, which I'm really looking forward to, because we're both quite fans of horror. I've gotten into horror recently, and now I really love it. It's really numbed the pain I've been feeling for Doctor Who. So yeah, that's probably going to be my next obsession. Sorry, Doctor Who, but you failed. So yeah, you can follow my Instagram, Drawing Jackrabbit, which I am going to upload on more. If you're interested in my art, you can follow my art page. It has a stupid name. It's Jack Niblet Main, one word, 2 L's. The stupid name. Stupid name. But yeah, I'm not on Twitter much because it depresses me every time I'm on there. But yeah, hope to be on the Tardis Zone a lot more in the future. And sorry I didn't contribute much to this stream. I'm just getting over my nervousness.
We got our money's worth anyway.
Sure. Once I get you on for the Alien Romulus, you'll be in full flow. And it'll be grand. You'll be back to normal again. It's always is when you haven't been on for a while. I mean, for Lee, it's no problem. And for me, it'd be no problem because we can talk.
Lee could go away for 20 years and slot back in like nothing.
And I look, same with Cinnamon. He can talk for Ireland as well. I think he's picked up a few of my bad fucking habits, actually, to be quite honest with you. That's why I love him. But that's what I love about people on here. They do fucking know how to fucking talk.
I'm your surrogate son anyway.
What?
I said I'm your surrogate son anyway.
Yeah, at this fucking stage. Anyway, where's Mr. Oh yeah, he's on the RT. Why did you have to do that, PD? PD, go ahead.
Because he is. We all know it. Anyway, you can normally find me hovering in a chat on Rabbi's channel, making sure he's all right.
Fantastic. Short and
Picking
sweet.
on your local rabbi.
And of course, we'll hand you over to Cinnamon. Cinnamon's been doing some Red Dead Redemption streams. And as you remember, I used to do them before I actually rebranded the channel. I used to do some Red Dead Redemption stream. I used to love playing that game. Man, those 2 games, right? Brilliant. But go on, Cinnamon, what have you coming up on your channel?
That's it. Best to last.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This fella's getting a big head since he got engaged. I think we're going to have to fucking bring him down a peg or 2. What's the fucking story?
I've changed my mind on Russell. Me and him are in the big leagues now. It's all about us. You basically screw the rest of you. But yeah, it's all about me and my channel now. But like I say, been doing an amazing Red Dead, the best. No one else has ever come close.
All right, Russell.
I've been doing that. That's been going good. I might do. Well, I might not. There's no might about it. I'll probably do it tomorrow. Got other things going. Again, it's Halloween soon, so a bit like Jack, we're going to get into the Halloween theme as well. Probably going to do
a bit of gaming myself. Use little bollockses. Download Fortnite so we can create a squad.
But that's brain rot game, and I prefer actual games. We've got
Robert Fort, you cheeky bollocks. There's no wrong with Fortnite.
It's killed the gaming industry. It's an absolute embarrassment.
Who cares if it did? It did something that nobody else thought of, and now everybody's moaning about it. All the game companies need to get over it and start making decent fucking games. That's all it is. It's the same with the whole film and TV industry as well. Everybody else likes to blame other games or other people, when in fact the reality is you're all making shite.
It's all Ubisoft's fault.
Anyway, there's nowhere to catch me.
It would be too critical. It's vile, isn't it, to criticise Ubisoft? It's disgusting and vile.
Anyway,
but yeah, like I say, it's Halloween coming up soon. We're continuing the Red Dead Redemption streams. Hopefully I'll have that finished because Dead Rising. I've talked about that multiple times. So that's what I'd like to stream as well. I'm hopefully going to invest in a capture card because that's would help a lot. Because the unfortunate thing is that I stream directly from the PlayStation, and hoping that there's good internet, it can often sometimes slightly buffer and slightly skip a few seconds, which can ruin cutscenes, which I really, really hate. Capture card would probably prevent all that. So yeah, hopefully I can save up for that, and there should be a big improvement coming up soon.
Fantastic. Right, well, you can catch me here. Yeah. Sorry, my voice might sound a bit muffled right now. Ted's just at the farting in my face. So, yeah. That is absolutely fucking rotten, Ted. Did you just eat a dead rat or something? Seriously, mate. But you can find me here. Listen, I'll be on again. I'll be doing me second episode of Peter Capaldi. I'm doing, obviously, Peter Capaldi's era again. We started off with Deep Breath, just myself and whoever else is in the chat. and I'll be doing the second episode soon. As I said, we do them late night anyway. So look out for that because it'll be happening this week, definitely this week. And I will have a membership stream as well because we haven't done a membership stream. I've just been, as you know, the last few weeks that I've had have been all over the place.
I know what happened, buddy.
So I won't get into it, but it's been rough. But went to the last protest and everything turned out okay. So safe again. So just let you all know you don't have to worry about me. I know what I'm doing. I'm not stupid. I'm not getting involved in shit that I shouldn't be getting involved in. I'm trying to keep my nose as clean as I fucking can. But the Gardaí, look, it's the same over in the UK. The way they police over there, it's happening over here. And sometimes innocent people are getting arrested for absolutely fucking nothing. And that's just the bottom line.
It's all about arrest, and release late. It's all about optics.
That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. But look, we will be back again this week. So look out for that. And I want to thank all my guests, especially me two special guests. I feel weird saying that because they used to be regulars, but special guests, Problem being, and Draw and Jack Rabbit. And as I said, myself and Jack will be back pretty soon because we do want to do Alien Romulus, and I'm gonna fucking watch the movie again just to see.
Good luck.
Was I too harsh the first time? But I know I'm not harsh.
No, you were just harsh
I'm not
enough.
harsh.
Just harsh enough.
I'm still not happy about the fact I'm not special anymore. We're gonna have words after the stream.
Well, but you see, but you see, when there's a special guest on, there's a special guest on. You're part of the panel now, so you don't get special treatment.
Hey, Cinnamon, I've been coming on here since 2018, mate.
Oh,
shade has been thrown.
Ooh, what's going on here?
You've been my replacement for the past 2 years, but I'm back.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, well, I got engaged and I'm with Russell and he's my mate, so, you know.
No, you're not supposed to tell anyone. You're not supposed to tell anyone, for Christ's sake.
So you're engaged to Russell T. David.
You insane person.
Now we know why.
Yeah, sorry guys, I've been an agent this entire time, double agent. I've been running back and filling him in on everything. I've told him all about our secret conversations. I told him what you really think of him, and he's told me what he really thinks of you, Lee. And
well, here's the thing: if RTD was standing right in front of me, I would definitely have no problem with telling that man how I feel about him now. Right? In 2005, I always give him credit for saving me life because he brought back something that actually made me interested in life again. And I wanted to live just to see Doctor Who. He did save me, and I'll always be grateful for that. But for what he's done since he's come back, it's unforgivable. It is unforgivable, and I'm sorry. He's just using it as his own personal tool now, you know, to bash the world and to bash fans, and I'm not down for that.
Yeah,
so,
get over yourself, Russell.
Get over yourself, you horrible prick. And with that said, I'm going to leave it there and thank all of me panelists and everybody in the chat that's taken part. I've seen Gobster was in there as well, and Dan, Queen Charla was in there as well. And we had Chris was there as well. We haven't seen Chris. Everybody's been busy, but everybody does get busy. And hopefully we'll see us all again next week because we haven't had many people watching me streams lately, unfortunately, but that was always going to happen, you know.
Yeah, I'll invoice you all at mine and Russell's wedding date. Should be
Jesus Christ. Well, I'm getting out of here before we start crying. Anyway, bye.
Can I plug Russell first?
Oh, go on, plug your RTD. Yeah.
It's all right. Russell, come here. Well, you're gonna let me? Okay. Right. Whatever. Oh God. First of all, thank you, all you wonderful people, for taking such an interest. And it's wonderful that I live in all your heads completely rent free. It's absolutely gorgeous. And as for you, Noel, I couldn't be more honoured to have saved your life back in the day. I just don't give a flying fuck about you now. And as for you, Cinnamon, are you trying to get me fired? Seriously, you're not supposed to go telling people this shit. Honestly.
Sorry, Daddy. Sorry.
No, look. It's fine. It's all is forgiven. I'll see you at the hotel afternoon. Right?
He's on Canal
Anyway,
Street.
on that note, folks, we're gonna wrap it up right there. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.